And with me this morning is Azerbaijan's ambassador to Ireland and the UK. And good morning, Ambassador Elin Suleymanov. Now, 75,000 have already fled. You heard what Ambassador Nersesyan said there to us yesterday morning, that this is forced depopulation of the Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh, that this is ethnic cleansing. What's your response?
And good morning. Thank you for having me. Well, first of all, as you know, Azerbaijan offered the Armenian ethnic residents of the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan to stay. And become citizens of Azerbaijan. We cannot force them to stay, but nobody urges them to leave. In fact, what makes them leave is uncertainty, which follows 30 years of occupation of Azerbaijan by Armenia. The ambassador of Armenia represents the country which occupied Azerbaijan. They committed ethnic cleansing. Now, he speaks about ancient civilization, but ask yourself, why is a formerly diverse region of Nagorno-Karabakh in Azerbaijan is now 100% Armenian? That is because everybody else has been ethnically cleansed. 1 million people in Karabakh and surrounding regions were ethnically cleansed in the 1990s. Now, we don't want to do what they've done to us. And that's why everybody, including the president and everybody in Azerbaijan, is offering them to stay. We understand that there is an uncertainty. We understand that there is a fear of safety and all this. Those are understandable concerns given the area being a part of a conflict for a long time. Now,
and there is a long and complicated history to this conflict in the region. But, you know, given that there have been statements that you want those who committed, Azerbaijan wants those it sees as having committed war crimes handed over. So what about the safety of anyone who would have stayed if they have taken part in this conflict in the past?
We have offered a very wide-ranging amnesty for anybody who lays down arms. But that doesn't mean that anybody who can commit a war crime, a rape of a child, a murder, mass murder, would just walk away because other people who have not done that are
So there will be trials of Armenians?
Not Armenians per se, people who have committed that. And that's not a very large number of people.
And what about the political leadership who've been arrested?
So far, the political leadership has not been arrested. As a matter of fact, many of them have left. Some of them are staying. And by the way, we're having talks with the community leaders of Armenians in Karabakh. By the way, the talks are ongoing. There's a positive story to this. Now,
the area, it will be dissolved as a republic, as a self-declared republic on the 1st of January.
It is not really a republic. This is a illegally created separatist regime which was created by Armenia as a result of occupation. Now, let me ask you this: the same standard should apply everywhere. I mean, when we talk about Ukraine, when we talk about Georgia, when we talk about Moldova, I don't see any of my friends shedding tears for what happens in those separatist regions. These are very similar patterns. This is the same pattern of post-Soviet separatist ethnic war.
In Ukraine, though, we have reporters who are able to give us independent testimony of what's going on. So why, and there have been several calls for this, why would Azerbaijan not let in outside media, not let in independent observers?
If you follow closely, the area is opening up, the independent media is coming in. We don't object. There is actually ongoing projects in there. People are going in, by the way. The UN is also going in. ICRC, International Committee of Red Cross.
So you are responding to those calls?
Of course. But the question is that, one question I want to tell you is an issue of safety. Don't forget that the trigger for the latest confrontation has been the landmine terror, which people died, civilians died stepping on landmines. Armenia mined half of Azerbaijan. Today you have over 300 victims of landmines in Azerbaijan. So this is also a safety issue. And there's also a Russian peacekeeping contingent in the area, so we have to take the safety issues into account.
And as I say, the numbers fleeing are absolutely phenomenal, from 60,000 yesterday morning to 75,000 by yesterday afternoon. I don't know what the numbers will be today. How reassuring to Armenians? How likely are they to heed the calls to stay and be reintegrated into Azerbaijan when they hear your President Aliyev saying that the enemy has been punished properly and that Baku has restored sovereignty with an iron fist? Wouldn't that be a reason to fear reintegration if you were Armenian?
No, because first of all, Azerbaijan has restored its territorial integrity and constitutional law in accordance with international law. This is a part of Azerbaijan. And by the way, the ambassador of Armenia is talking about my country. I'm not talking about Armenia. He is referring to the territory of Azerbaijan, so that should also be taken into account. All the conversation you had with my counterpart was about Azerbaijani territory, not about Armenia. Let's not forget that. Number two is President Aliyev has said that we don't hold Armenian civilians responsible for attacks against our civilians. We don't hold them responsible for ballistic missiles flying into our cities. We don't hold them responsible for the massacres. There are people in the leadership of the separatist regime who have done that. But the people of Armenian background in our land, they are not responsible for that. It breaks my heart to see what you see. I don't want them to leave. Nobody wants them to leave. But what are our options? Can we force them to stay? We don't want to force them to stay because that's wrong. We don't want them to leave, but we want them to make an individual choice. The one question is we want them to make that choice on an informed basis. And if I may tell you something, all these conversations about gloom and doom, they don't help because people get
Okay, well, let me ask you this question about the future. As you say, there is a long and complicated history, and on the Azerbaijan side, on the Armenian side, there are many stories of atrocities and reasons not to trust the other side. So do you think now that Azerbaijan has retaken control of Nagorno-Karabakh, do you think that is the end of the story?
I hope so. What is the alternative? Armenians are not going away to the moon. We're not
guerrilla warfare?
Oh, why? Why? We don't want to have a warfare. We want to live in peace. We can accommodate our citizens. Azerbaijan is a diverse country. We have Jewish, Christian citizens, and there are no issues with discrimination in Azerbaijan. Armenia is a monoethnic country. We are not.